So recently I was given the opportunity to preview Avowed, thanks to Xbox for providing me with this opportunity. And there's a lot of stuff to unpack. So today's video, we are going to discuss Avowed. I'm going to go over the juicy details. We're going to talk about the gameplay, the combat, character creator, the open world, the graphics, and pretty much everything that I have played for the last 48 hours. I'm going to try to talk about it all in this video. So yes, this will be quite the yapathon. I will leave chapters for you guys to watch the parts you want to watch. So let's go ahead and just get into it. So for those of you that don't know, Avowed is the upcoming game from Obsidian Entertainment, published by Xbox Game Studios. And to put it simply, this is Obsidian Entertainment's take on a Skyrim or Elder Scrolls like game. And by that, I mean a first-person single-player fantasy RPG. And I won't lie, once we saw the newer art style, I was a bit concerned about Avowed, mainly because the game looked way different than what we got with the first ever teaser trailer, the one with the arrow, with the dude with the sword and the magic in the left hand. But that really was my main concern. I know Obsidian can do RPGs, so that really wasn't an issue for me, but I'll talk more about that in just a bit. Let's go ahead and talk about the character creator though. So in my opinion, the character creator is a bit of a mixed bag. Like, it starts off with the presets. The presets were okay. There was nothing really like eye-catching, but after you select one from there, you then have body type presets and skin tone. Now from this preview, there was only 4 body types. Skin tone, obviously there's a palette that you can kind of just scroll through and just get the perfect skin tone that you want. When it comes to the head and hair, specifically the face presets to start, there's about 14 different face presets you could choose from. There's 14 masculine presets and then 14 feminine. After that, there's a set of godlike features where you could have facial features that are godlike. And then there's also some hair godlike features. And you're actually able to disable the visibility on both. But luckily, the NPCs will react to your godlike features regardless. Now, there's really not a whole lot of godlike features, but they were pretty solid. Some of them look cool. But most of the godlike features, while they looked nice, they just didn't really fit my character that I was going for. Now, for the hair presets, there was quite a few. You could actually set the preset color, and then you could have like a hue for those colors. Now, one aspect that I was a bit disappointed was with the facial hair. I like having a character with a beard. The beard options were just okay, but that's an issue that will be fixed with modding, I'm sure, in the future. Again, nothing too crazy. They're just basic beards. Ones you would expect are going to be in the game. I can't show you guys a character creator as I'm not allowed. Jumping into the facial features, there's a big section for eyes, brows, nose, face shape, mouth, and ears. You can adjust the depth, the angle, the spread, so you really can fine tune to just get your perfect character. Now, there's also a section for the extras. You can change the complexion, the lips, the facial scars, eyeliner, and makeup. So the last thing with the character creation, there's the game difficulty slider. There's 5 different options. There's an identity section where there's 4 different voices, 2 that are feminine, 2 that are masculine. There's of course a pronoun slider, and then of course your name. All of this is just kind of like your basic character creator. Like, there's nothing too crazy about the character creation, but I did make sure to spend about 30 minutes just on the character creator. That's usually what I do for most games. Like, I would say 30 minutes is actually kind of short compared to other games, but either way, I spent about 30 minutes into it. It's a solid character creator, nothing too crazy, but let's get into the actual nitty gritty, and that is the backgrounds. So in Avowed, there are 5 different character backgrounds. The first one is the Arcane Scholar. Now, for those of you that don't know, the backgrounds provides unique dialogue options and determines your starting weapon, and all equipment and abilities are available to you regardless of your background. So for those of you that are like, my decision has weight to it, I have to make sure that I do this, you're able to kind of change things as you go. Now, the background for Arcane Scholar, after graduating with honors from Bragenhill Academy, or Bragenhill, I'm not really sure the pronunciation. Sorry, Pillars of Eternity fans. You published a treatise on soul lineages that threatened the legitimacy and drew the ire of a local lord. When he had you arrested, the Emperor intervened and recruited you into the archives of the Imperial Court. Your mind is a bottomless well of occult knowledge, legal precedent, historical observation, and poetry, and you've forgotten more than most people ever learn. Now, for the Court Augur, when your village's crops failed, your strange insights and unsettling manner earned your neighbor's suspicion. You foresaw the torches and pitchforks and fled to High Crown, where the Emperor recognized your talents and elevated you from back alley fortune teller to his personal mystic. You have learned how to wield power from the shadows. All it takes is a dash of influence and a pinch of deception. Next up, we have Noble Scion. You were born to a noble house of great influence, middling wealth, and questionable morals. When scandals and succession disputes saw your family cast down, you threw yourself on the Emperor's mercy and he shielded you. Canny yet refined, you have become a formidable force at court and an invaluable ally to the Emperor. Next, we have Vanguard Scout. Born to humble beginnings and driven to desperation by famine, your life was destined to end on the executioner's block. Forget the list, he goes to the block. Until the Emperor spared you, you are more at ease in the wilderness than in court, but your cleverness and observant nature have made you one of the Emperor's most trusted operatives. Whether tracking prey or spying on enemies, your skills are put to work both inside and outside of the throne room. And last but not least, the last background is the war hero. You distinguish yourself on the field of battle fighting a violent Skae uprising, and the Emperor honored you with a place among the elite tall grass spearmen. Some of your scars are less obvious than others, but you wear them with pride. The Emperor values your loyalty, your grit, and your martial prowess. All right, so this brings us to the prologue. It is an epic animation that I'm sure a lot of you guys are going to appreciate. Obviously, I can't show it on the screen, but I'm able to talk about it. So the video starts off with a hyper-realistic animation saying the Living Lands Spring 2831, and it's got a tree with a bunch of roots, and in the tree is a creature. It almost looks like a meerkat. For those of you that are experienced with the Pillars of Eternity lore, you probably know exactly what this is. I need to go out and play it. I apologize for not doing my due diligence and playing Pillars of Eternity 1 and 2, but I will be doing it before Avowed releases. So the creature is then looking around and starts climbing up the tree, and it comes across this spore of some kind. The animal then touches it, the spore explodes, and this is when the creature is infected by the Dream Scourge, which is the central plot of this game. The Emperor then in the background says, "What do you know of the Living Lands?" To which it cuts to a shot of the throne room with the Emperor in there, to which the Emperor said, "The rumors and tales are so vexing they cannot be true, and yet they are. Those untamed wilds overgrown with the most curious wonders and the most dreadful abominations. There beats a dark pulse within the heart of that soil. Something vile stirs beneath the earth, seething with rot and decay. Its foul tendrils reach towards us to lash out at the Empire itself." We then get a cut to the Living Lands, to which the Emperor said, "I command you, go to the Living Lands, find the roots, and if necessary, sever them." We then see a ship who is traveling to the Living Lands. The Emperor then said, "You are my envoy, remember your vow. The hopes of an empire rest upon you." And then we get a shot 6 weeks later off the coast of the Living Lands. We are heading to the port of the Living Lands, or Dawn Shore. Our boat then gets shot by a cannon. We hear whole impact sounds and indistinct shouting, and this is where we arrive at Dawn Shore. Dawn Shore is a region on the southwestern coast of the Living Lands. The central city of Paradise is populated by scrappy settlers and new arrivals seeking fortune on the frontier. The abundance of goods and coin moving through Dawn Shore has contributed to an equally abundant criminal underworld. We then wake up from the beach, and if you guys have ever played Ark, Survival Ascended, or Evolved, you know the animation of whenever you wake up, it gets like really blurry, but then it focuses in. Well, it focuses in front of a ship that is our ship that's broken, and it's now beached, and that was our only way of getting back to the Emperor. We then wake up, and this is where the prologue starts officially. Again, I can't show this on the screen, so you're seeing random gameplay, but the prologue is really solid. We wake up, we see somebody, we walk up to him. The character's name is Garrick. He's blue. He almost kind of looks like a dwarf and an elf mixed, almost like a Grogu head, but with 3 different beards that are braided. He looks pretty cool. So this first bit of dialogue, we kind of get context of why we are here. Garrick is a part of the fleet. He's a quarter gunner, 3rd Adiran fleet. This is actually where we get our first companion in the game. You can actually select follow me, and we actually complete the prologue together, which is pretty cool. We immediately start off with a companion. We then move forward and we see this doorway where we have to break through it. We open it up, and this is essentially just like the prologue area. It's like the tutorial section where we have to kind of mantle, we jump on areas, we crouch, we do the basic tutorial stuff. But honestly, the game plays really solid. It's almost like a mix between, I would say, Grounded and The Outer Worlds, which are both games that Obsidian has done. I'll talk more about the gameplay, but this is where we got our first look at the combat in the preview. Again, you guys are seeing gameplay from another section on the screen here. But as I approached on the Estranged Shores, our goal was to reach the outpost, and there's like these little darts. If you've ever played Skyrim and you're going through a dungeon, you've got those like little pressure plate things or motion sensor darts that would shoot across the room and stab you. The same thing is happening here. We then continue on and we come across somebody that's in a prison cell. We eventually find out is named Elora. Well, we get the key to unlock Elora and let her out. Once we let her out, she joins our group and helps us with the rest of the prologue. And that brings us to this port right here. This is where I'm officially allowed to start showing you gameplay, even though you guys have been watching stuff from Dawn Shore already. But this is where I'm officially allowed to start showing gameplay and talking about it. This location right here is the port just outside of Paradise. Paradise, which is the city where we are headed to. And of course, as soon as I spawned in, I was like, okay, this is when I can start really testing out the tech. Obviously, on the very bottom left, we have Z, which is the health potion. And then at the bottom left, you see X, which that is essentially your mana potion. You've got a Q, which is your throwable. And then the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 are different spells. Now, what's cool is if you offhand a book, that book also contains different spells you can use. From there, all you have to do is just press right click, and then you just do 1, 2, or 3, or 4, and you're able to use various spells that the book allows. We then come across two people. We have the captain of the militia, Cynric, and then we have Kai, who is the blue person. He is played by the legendary Brandon Keener. If you guys have played Mass Effect, you know this dude. Got the voice of an angel, bro. All right, next up, let's get into the gameplay, the combat, the abilities, and all that other stuff. So first and foremost, let me just say the gameplay in this game is just straight up fun. I think the part that I like the most is just the movement tech. Like, I could just be running around, bobbing and weaving in and out of fights. It's almost kind of like Grounded. You know how like the movement in Grounded is like super solid? You really see that with this game as well. I can sit there and have a book in one hand and then a dagger in the other hand, and then just stab, bob and weave, use the book for flames and electricity. But then you're able to have a secondary weapon, which you actually go in your inventory, and then there's a secondary slot that you could put, like, let's say a bow. So I can not only have an up close and personal, but I can have magic, and I can have a bow readily available pretty quick. Like, just the overall movement tech along with those options, like, it's pretty wild, dude. Like, this fight right here, this dude was pretty difficult. Like, it wasn't an easy fight by any stretch of the imagination, but it was just a really fun fight. Like, I got this small little dude coming at me like crazy, and I'm here like stabbing and dodging, pulling out my bow, hitting him with my bow, shooting lightning at him. And it just really is fun. Like, they don't try to evolve the format too much, but they just refine it. And I'm not saying the combat is like overly crazy good or anything like that, but it is the part that I enjoyed the most. That, along with the exploration, which I have to say, the exploration and the game design, 10 out of 10, like, already. From what I've played of Dawnshore, if the rest of the game is like that, we could be sitting on a truly special game. Like, I'm not even joking either. As a fan of games like Grounded, my favorite thing about that game is the overall just exploration, the sense of discovery, and the design, dude. But this game takes it to an entirely new level. I'll put them on the screen right here. I'll try to find like the best designed areas. Everything is just so intricately placed, and it all just flows. Like, it's so interesting. Like, I look one way and I'm like, what is that thing? I want to go investigate. And then I look around the other side and I'm like, holy crap, what is this going on? And then I travel further and see this big giant skeleton in the ground, and I'm like, dude, what are we doing here? Like, this is absolutely insane. Now, this gameplay style might not be everyone's cup of tea, but for me, I love games like Fallout. I love games like Skyrim and the other Elder Scrolls games. So this fits right into my personality. Like, this is screaming to me saying, hey, come play this forever. And I think the choice and just the variety and just like the freedom that you really get in this first starting area is pretty epic. Like, I'm not gonna lie with you guys. I sat there and spent 20 minutes just doing random parkour on different places. If you know Grounded, you know they love their parkour in that game, and it shows with this game as well. Like, I was scaling up a mountaintop just to get this chest right here. Like, there's probably a better way to do this. Like, you could probably get it eventually later, but I'm like, why don't I just scale this little area and try a little bit of hardcore parkour? And I landed it perfectly. Now, again, this could just be a really polished section of the game, but if I know Obsidian, and I think I do, the rest of the game is going to be similar to this as well. I haven't even seen inside the city, which you're not able to go to, because as soon as you go inside of Paradise, that's when my play session ended, or at least that's when it officially ends, quote unquote. I went back into another save and I'm like, I've got more exploration to do. And that I did. I explored a ton of stuff. And after playing about 8 to probably 10 hours of the game, just exploring and looking around in different areas and trying to do as much as possible, I'm convinced. Like, I am on board. I told you guys earlier that I was a little bit concerned about the game, mainly because of the art style shift, which I'll talk about graphics in just a bit, but I'm not concerned anymore. Like, I'm on the hype train. Well, let's go ahead and get back into the nitty-gritty details that I'm sure a lot of you guys want to know. So we have the abilities in this game. Now, there's abilities for multiple different sections. There's the fighter class, there's the ranger, the wizard, and godlike abilities, and there's even companion abilities. Well, lucky for you guys, I was able to get every single ability, so here we go. Let's get into it. So starting off, we have the fighter, I guess we'll call subclass or class. Now, with each different ability, there's a level that's required to unlock, but there's also different ranks that you can get in each one of those abilities, and requires a skill point. So the first ability is the charge, and then we have the barbaric shout. We then have have the power jump, we've got into the fray, and clear out. Next up, we have the armored grace, the bleeding cuts, the unbreakable, reflect, and inspiring triumph. Next, we have the shield blast, built to destroy, stunning blows, retribution. And then we have the brawn, we have the devastating criticals, and then iron fists. And then we have the toughness and the constant recovery. Moving on to the ranger, we have the tanglefoot, the shadow and beyond, power slide, bear ally, and flurry of blows. Next up, we have the finesse, piercing thrusts, quick switch, critical strike, and staggering shot. And then we have the parry, we've got the steady aim, arrow deflection, and sniper. We have marksmanship, survivalist, and then evasive and scavenger. Moving on to the wizard, we have the minor missiles, we have the armored essence, the wand mastery, the blast, bounce, blood magic. There's the harvest essence ability. We've got the secret rune, scion of flame, heart of the storm, spirit of decay. Next up, we have the chill blades. We have the grimoire mastery. We have fan of flames. We have the jolting touch, the corrosive siphon, the parasitic staff, and then the arcane veil. For level 5, there's the grimoire snap, the bristling frost, the crackling bolt, the fireball, and then the blizzard, the blast of frost, ring of fire, returning storm, the spirit lance. We then have the freezing pillar, the black bow, the pull of Eora, the arcane seal, and the meteor shower. Next up, we have various godlike abilities that are different tiers. The first one we have is the divine thorn, which grants a stealth attack against an unaware enemy while crouched behind them. And finally, we have the dream touch. And then there are 9 others that are currently locked. And finally, there's a companion ability where the companion will all be equipped with something. So for Kai, there's the fire and ice, there's the unbending defense, there's the leap of daring, and then the second wind. And next up, I want to talk about the overall gameplay and performance. So for me, I was playing the game on PC, obviously via Steam, and I'm playing on a 4090 with a 10700K CPU. So I've got a bit of a bottleneck. Yes, I will be upgrading to the 9800X 3D soon in due time. But the one concern that I do have about the game is the overall performance, specifically in larger points of interest. And I guess I will once again preface that I'm playing an alpha version of the game. I believe it's alpha. I know it's just a really early build. So we have to take all of that into consideration. It's probably going to be updated. It's going to be polished. If you've ever played games like Grounded, that game is super polished. Same with the Outer Worlds. So I'm not really worried about the polish on release. But initially, I will say the frame rate, despite my PC being bottlenecked, is a little bit rough. Like I said, especially near Paradise, like on the dock, the frame rates are just kind of all over the place. Another concern that I have is just the overall look of the game. Something seems just a bit off. Like it almost feels like it's not crisp enough. I was playing on 1440p with RTX on. I also turned it off for performance enhancements, but the game just feels a little bit weird. Like there's something that feels off about it. There's not that polish that you would get with a game like Grounded. Like it doesn't really feel sharp. And I'm sure that they'll probably get that fixed closer to launch, but I feel like there's something wrong with the lighting. Maybe it's just the textures. I don't know. Maybe it's like a texture quality thing. Like I said, I'm not an expert at this, but it does look a little bit weird. The gameplay wise, amazing. They crushed the gameplay. They crushed the combat, but some of the textures, some of the visuals could look a bit better. Maybe it's an HDR thing. Maybe I have to turn HDR on for the game to just look vibrant and colorful. Not that I'm really wanting a vibrant and colorful game, but just at nighttime, it looks amazing. I would say the nighttime looks way better than the daytime, and it's not even close, especially whenever you're sitting at the camp, which this game also has, where you can set up your camp at night, kind of like Baldur's Gate, or rather is like Baldur's Gate, but that scenery looks really solid. But yeah, I've had a fun time with Avowed. Thank you so much to Xbox for gifting me this opportunity. I wasn't paid for this, obviously, but I want to thank you for the opportunity. And for those of you that are watching this video, hopefully you enjoyed. Hopefully you learned something new about Avowed. Maybe it got you a bit more excited. Maybe it got you a little bit more hesitant. I'll let you guys decide in the comment section. If you enjoyed this video, do me a favor, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel with your notifications turned on. And until next time, this has been Wes, and I will talk to you guys in the next video.